This is the Verify Testing internal customer call for October 2020. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the agenda since we're starting a little late today. I've called out a couple of very small changes to the roadmap deck. We've wrapped up the unit test report, all of the unit test report improvements epic, all of the work that was associated with that. And actually, there was a couple of follow-on issues that didn't get added to the epic that are getting wrapped up in this milestone. One of them was taking the traces off of the page and putting them into a modal, so that page is a lot smaller now and easier to navigate, which is great. And we got tagged on Twitter on the day of the release by a user who didn't notice that in the release post because it wasn't in the release post. It was merged to .com that morning. So awesome work there by the team. That means that we have opened up and have started working on the next epic, which is code quality. That's resolving the open dogfooding issues and moving maturity to viable. We talked through some of the problems that we want to solve with that epic in our last internal call or internal customer call. And so I will link to that in the bottom of the video. If anybody wants a refresher on that, they can watch that discussion, and I'll link to the epic as well so that you can quickly get into that and look at those issues. So I didn't have anything specifically to talk through today, so I was going to do this as more of an AMA style. Some of the topics that I included that I had questions on are what was next for test file finder, and Kyle is already, I see in the agenda, started to provide us an update there, so we'll jump right into that first. We could also talk through the code testing vision designs that Juan and I worked on right before he left. The future of code coverage reports, which is a think big the team is going to be talking about next week. And yeah, on that note, we'll jump right into Kyle. Kyle, can you give us an update on dynamic test mapping?
Yes. Thanks, Joanna. I'm pretty sure you added this.
Yep.
I apologize for all the children in the background. I have my 4-year-old and 20-something month old, less than 2-year-old home with me today, so hence the background.
No
I will point you to what I'm highlighting here, the subtask. So that is that's kind of the list of the plan of where we're going with dynamic mapping on Crystal Ball right now. Thank you to Drew for reviewing the JSON mapping MR. That's going to allow us to take advantage of the Crystal Ball JSON map that is output, in addition to the YAML map that we use for FOSS failure and just the RSpec fail fast right now. So we're already generating the map with Crystal Ball, which is great. And there are 2 tasks that we're going to be looking at to take advantage of that map. The first one is doing a dynamic child pipeline where we can run the mapped tests in parallel. So think split it out onto multiple executors. We're finding more examples now that we have Crystal Ball where we need more than just one build job. So we have to kind of do some groundwork to say, okay, for example, there's 60 tests that are going to be run. Let's break this into three executors and break it out 20 on all 3. After we do that, that's when we're going to start looking at the fail rate. So thanks for the question down at the bottom. We don't have anything at the moment until we implement those items, but I'll make sure to mention to Albert to add our measures to the same dashboard. We may rename it, but the link should still work in SpiceSense because it's based on that dashboard ID.
And then ask was just to the dashboard that the team is using to measure success of this. There's cost on there, which is great. I'm just scrolling through. Does this also include the false positives or false negatives? I don't remember which way we were tracking that, of tests that are found that can be tests that are skipped that then failed in the full run.
Yeah, so I thought that it did, but I don't see it in here now. So maybe I'm looking at the wrong dashboard, or maybe it was changed.
Is it the fail fast miss rate?
The miss rate, yeah. Sorry,
okay,
I have it's split on half screen, and it was just a little. Yep. So the miss rate is that, and it's split out by I'll say test level, so that because our general approach is we think our hypothesis is the miss rate for unit tests is going to be a little bit less than migration or system tests, for example. So we're just going to iteratively kind of tackle each level.
That's awesome.
And that helps us with that. This is just focused on the fail fast implementation though right now, just for awareness. It's not none of the new crystal ball mapping.
Okay. Cool.
And I see, since I hopped around in my update, let me go back to Ricky's question here. Ricky, you want to vocalize?
Yeah, sure. I was just wondering if there were any thoughts on, instead of using Crystal Ball, which is a Ruby exclusive gem, if there was any thoughts on kind of using the process analysis. I think it was dynamic process analysis that Shopify was using to determine like which, you know what I mean, that blog post. Any thoughts about doing that instead of Crystal Ball?
Yeah. When we started, so I think that was Rotoscope, if I remember right.
Yeah, Rotoscope
what Shopify used, and TracePoint. So we, Albert experimented with that, and we found that Rotoscope initially created a like 12 gigabyte file and took a really long time to generate. So we just simplified our area of focus. It's not to say that we'll never kind of expand back. We really want to look at the results of Crystal Ball because it was just the easiest to start with. For our use case. I think Rotoscope is something that will definitely help with the general product here. Let me link to the MR that he opened and just kind of the summary of that in the agenda.
Yeah, it looks like our use case is similar to that of Shopify. 150,000 tests, growing 20 to 30% annually. I don't know what our test growth rate is. Taking 30 to 40 minutes to run. Like that all sounds like familiar pain points when it comes to running the full pipeline.
Yes.
So this is my guess is we would benefit from a similar approach, but a large chunk of the user base, when it comes to genericizing this and building it into the product, that's just too big of a hammer for that, right? I mean, it's similar to what we found with some of the projects that we were trying the initial template with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely would agree with that.
Okay.
And I just want to reiterate that that's not to say that we won't look at Rotoscope. We really are still early in seeing what the results of even Crystal Ball would be. So, if the results aren't good, then we can go back to look at Rotoscope and TracePoint a little bit closer. It was just a call, and I'll say it was just a decision I made where I was, let's not spend time on that right now. Let's focus on the things that we think will give us results faster.
Cool. So we still have oh, go ahead, Ricky.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that I think focusing on those things, even though a lot of our customers don't benefit from it, the ones who would benefit from it are going to be like the big customers, right? Like, set us up for success with people who are on Ultimate and who have large repositories and a lot of huge pipelines. And so it's, even though it's not the 80% solution, there's still a lot of value in that kind of finicky section, I think.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I think our mono repo users too are going to be they'll love that, right? So just looking at our active epics, we still have an epic open to dog food find failures fast, and some work that we thought was required there that the testing team would do. At this point, the engineering productivity has taken on most of the work of continuing to iterate on this and work towards dog fooding it. What other, in this epic, are there things that you are waiting on us to provide, or where we can add leverage for your team to move faster, while at the same time building that into the product? Or should we take a step back, close this epic out at this point, and pick it back up later?
Excellent question, and I unfortunately don't have an answer right now. Let me
no
look
worries.
closer at the epic. I can't see. I'll try to find it. I'll take the action to review it and see what things could be prioritized by a testing group that'll help us, and go from there. Thank you for linking it in the chat.
Yep. I'll add it to the agenda as well and follow up in a couple of days.
Yeah, sounds good. Sorry that I can't give you a better answer now.
Oh no, sorry to spring that one on you.
No, this is the time to do it. So no need for apology on that. Does that help as far as an update? We're still early. how can I provide updates ahead of the monthly touch point? Is there like just Slack updates? Would that be okay? And G testing, say, hey, this is what we're seeing, or
Yeah.
here's where we're at for progress.
Slack update just to the issue. I think keeping track in that issue that you linked to initially on the steps would be the best way for us to stay up to date async.
Okay.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, we will do that, and be sure to mention at least James, you, and Ricky directly. Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. That's it on Test File Finder. I had more of like an AMA question. It's kind of in the engineering productivity vein. So you all have been doing some really good work on improving some of the functionality. Where are we not using something that we should, that maybe recently has been refined a little bit more within our own development?
I'd say the next dog fooding initiative that we have is around code quality. And yeah, we talked about that last month. Really, the focus is on enabling the developer to utilize our code quality template in their day-to-day workflow. So we've really focused in on what we heard from GitLab developers and GitLab developers of, I see this data, it's here, I want to make use of it, but I can't get ready access to it in the code review, and it's not gating the merge. And so we have some items in the epic that will move us towards being able to do that and make it a viable alternative to something like SonarQube when it comes to code quality. On the security front, they're already there, and we can follow a lot of that playbook. So things like incorporating code quality data into the diff MR, or the MR diff, is on that list. Being able to set a threshold for the level of failures that you want to see and above, and then gating, blocking on code quality, decreasing overall. Those are the ones that stick out in my mind. So
yeah, in terms of stuff,
the next one.
In terms of stuff that we've already done and that you can kind of take advantage of right now, is Drew's just enabled a feature flag for all of GitLab.com that changes the base comparison commit for the code quality diff. So now the merge request widget for code quality should actually be true for all of the pipelines on GitLab that use merge trains. So before, the problem only existed for merge trains, where it would show that like 700 code quality violations in every merge request, even if you only touched one file. But now what's in that widget should actually be completely 100% true. So if there's anything that your team could think of how we could use that, even in terms of like, I don't know, DangerBot or something like that, as like a stopgap until we get it built into the application where we can stop things from being merged on the pipeline level, that's completely open now and should be really accurate.
I will bring that up in the next team meeting, where we maybe just build something that starts to condition, I'll say, developers that, hey, code quality checks used to not be super valuable, but now they are. So let's do at least a warning, or let's do a gate and say you're introducing a new critical code quality, and then that'll allow feedback, I think, to come in too, where it's, I'm confused by this, whereas engineers have probably just tuned it out.
Yeah, and that's kind of the unfortunate thing that happened. Like it was kind of slow too. As soon as we turned on merge trains, then we started conditioning developers to ignore those merge request widgets, just because of the base comparison wasn't quite right when you have an ephemeral commit. But now with this new change, the comparison should be true, and so we can start to undo that conditioning. But like you said, it's going to be a process, because it's a lot harder to do that than it is to condition them to ignore something.
Yeah. I'll put that on the agenda for our next team meeting, just to see what ideas everyone has. But yeah, Danger, even just having Danger doing an API check to say there's a new code quality vulnerability that's medium or high or critical, just bringing additional attention to it, and then linking to something else that's saying this is like the epic that shows us being improved, will, I think, help nudge people to take the merge request widget more serious.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and we're also hoping with that change, we can help other teams with their widgets and make it a little bit more tight too. I know the rest of our widgets, we also want to incorporate the same comparison to. I know the metrics report widget is basically completely ignored as well, and we should be able to tighten those responses up with the same approach. And the feeling is that we should also be able to help with the SAST and DAST widgets. However, that's a little bit less clear because they don't use the same comparison code that our widgets do. And so it could be doing the same thing, but we haven't actually dug in to see what the SAST and DAST report comparisons are doing.
Awesome. Drew, I thought I saw Drew shared like an example of an MR that shows that the checks are valid. Do you remember where he did that, so I can just link to it in the agenda?
Yeah,
the EP team agenda.
I'll post the epic.
Awesome, thanks.
Cool. I would say, continuing to answer your question, there's templates for accessibility. We'd love to see that being used by the team. Browser performance, I think, is used in part. now I'm forgetting. I talked to some of the folks on quality, Grant, and I cannot remember who else I talked to, and got some great feedback on the gaps that were in browser performance. So we have some plans there, but nothing in the immediate works.
Yeah, I know our performance testing does a lot of very specific testing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Grant and Nalia and yeah, they have a really good handle on that. But yeah, I'm not sure that we're using the functionality that you all have from the product, but it's almost like what we're doing with Test File Finder. I think we started with some of the same pieces, and I could be way wrong. So apologies if that's the case. We started with the same core tenets.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I don't really have any other questions. That was one thing I just wanted to recap. Was I've seen a lot of good improvements, but I'm not sure maybe things that we should be using that you see that we're not. Besides, the code quality was top of mind. So.
Yep. Now code quality is going to be the next one. An ask for you. We're working on the category maturity scorecard for code testing and coverage. So I'd love to get a couple more developers lined up to walk through a task so that we can do the scorecard. Internal developers, GitLab developers, because we want to move the category from minimal to viable, and that process is interviewing internal customers. So if you can help point us at a couple of folks who have been very vocal about the unit test report or the test summary MR widget, that would be great. Or folks who are heavy users, that would be appreciated. So we can wrap that up.
Okay. I will. I'll put that in the update in the team meeting. I have a few people in mind, but let's see what the team says. I'll get back to you next week.
Perfect.
Unless you need it. Do you need it before then?
No, that's fine. Going into U.S. holidays, North America holidays, we expect things to slow down a little bit, and we already missed the Q3 timeframe, so or Q4 or whatever our quarterly calendar is. So as long as we get it done, I think yet this year we'll be in a good spot.
Awesome. Okay.
Cool.
The other thing to keep in mind, or the other thing I was going to share is the engineering productivity team had some discussions on moving towards real merge train for the monorepo. So right now we do merge results pipeline, and I think merge train won't cause any impacts to the things we're talking about, but we're talking about our team fixing some of the bugs that are preventing us from using it, so that we can move forward with that. Do you know if that's going to cause any impacts to any of the widget work or anything that you have in flight that we use internally that we should look out for?
I would defer to my very smart engineering counterpart on that one.
I think all of our work that we're doing in terms of the base report comparisons are going to work like merge result pipelines or merge train. They kind of
Mhm.
it shouldn't matter. So that should be okay.
Okay.
I can't think of a reason why if we switch to merge train anything would stop working.
Okay. That was my thoughts. I just wanted to put it out there. I feel like when we switched to merge results pipelines, we did. I never asked that question to anyone, which led to the problem we just talked about. And I don't want to cause it again.
Well, and I think the problem was it's so finicky too. Like if you look at Drew's diagram, like it took a diagram to understand what the problem actually was, and so that's how kind of insidious it was.
Yeah.
It took
okay.
multiple attempts at diagrams to
Yeah.
figure out what was going on.
I had to make a really bad diagram so that someone else could make a better diagram so that other people could understand what the problem was.
Iteration. Diagram iteration.
There was much iteration on those diagrams. Cool.
And yeah, I was just gonna say we really appreciate like you said, doing that and then having it be a pattern for all the other merge request widgets, so we can hopefully start to shift that behavior of the merge request warnings in the widget.
Yeah, and I think that's, again, the thing that is also interesting about that is that probably most of our customers will never experience that problem, because I think that it's completely dependent on using merge result pipelines, which from my understanding isn't like a super widely used feature from a lot of our customers.
Yeah.
So we're dogfooding that, and then we're fixing it out ahead of when it becomes a really popular feature, which it will be in the future.
Yeah, it's super interesting because like former coworkers, so I always hear merge results pipeline isn't used, but anyone that I work with and I talk about how we use merge results pipelines, they're like, what? GitLab can do that? Like they're just blown away. Like it's almost a huge like driver for developers, but people that sales would be interacting with probably just like, okay, you know, it's really interesting.
It's a branding problem. We need a better name. We need a better brand.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, Parker.
I heard the word branding. Sorry, I'm multitasking.
We're talking about merge result pipelines and how it's like really, as soon as a developer understands what it actually does, they're super excited about it and they want it. But from the name, it doesn't convey the meaning. We had the same problem, I think, with the JUnit report results, because it was called JUnit report results, and people, when they read it, they'd just be like, "Oh, it does stuff for Java, great." But that's like, it doesn't. When you actually find out what it is, they're like, "Oh, that's really cool. I need to put that into my pipeline right now."
Yeah, hey, we can work on stuff like that. Let's we'll take a note of it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's been like colleagues at 3 different companies that I talk about, because they're always like, well, how do you work at GitLab? I'm like, well, one of the things we do is I was eventually get to merge results pipeline, and it just kind of like their heads spin a little bit. They're like, that's so awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, the other one for me is review apps. When I explain to people how review apps work, they're
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah, same. Cool. Okay. I don't have anything else other than just rambling to probably take some of your time that you could be spending better somewhere else. So I'll just put that out in the world. Anything I can help with things that are in flight from engineering productivity that are maybe unclear? Okay.
Nothing I can think of.
Yeah.
Unless you can do something about the way the calendar works over the next couple of months. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be a hard few months to get work done, and you know, yeah, a lot of things.
Still actually
to exist.
Yeah. I'm really optimistic about, I mean, we have been working to slim down the milestones a little bit over the next couple of months, but I'm really excited about some of the stuff that we have coming up to help dog food code quality, getting screenshots from failed tests onto that pipeline tab or onto that pipeline page. That'll be really nice. That one, especially since I think I've been talking about it since my 3rd day here, that feature, we will get that done, and it is valuable. We know it is. So.
And when that's done, I will say, so we capture screenshots from system tests right now and put them as artifacts. So let us bring me in, and we can see how engineering productivity can just like default that feature in with all of our pipelines. I use that all the time in diagnosing master brokens or flaky tests or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, yeah, we'll give everyone some time back. Thank you so much for the questions and the commentary. Great discussion as always.
Likewise.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a great rest of your
Cheers.
week.